There are three stages of liberalism. The first one is liberal internationalism, which is linked with the period of enlightenment, and the second stage is liberal idealism, that is also called Wilsonian optimism, that emerged after the First World War. And the third stage of liberalism is neoliberalism. The theory of realism stated that the humans, the individuals, they are anarchic by nature, and since the states are made up of individuals, humans, hence the states are also anarchic. The theory of Neorealism said that the structure of the system is anarchic and hence the states are compelled to be anarchic. On the other hand, the theory of liberalism, it says that the nature of humans can be improved and they can be made pacific, and that the individuals are by nature good to some sort. And the theory of neoliberalism, this theory says that the states, instead of confronting with each other, instead of becoming anarchic in an anarchic environment, states usually cooperate with each other so that they can have benefits for themselves as well as other states. So the states want benefit for themselves, and since by cooperation with other states they can have benefit for themselves, hence the states tend to cooperate and get benefits. In order to get benefits in the world, the states need to have a system that is a predictable one, a system in which the states should know the intentions of other states, and every state should know what other states are going to do in future, and this system can only be made with the help of institutions, global institutions that every state can become part of, and they can know what other states are doing, so this can be beneficial for all the states. We know that when the World War I ended, Woodrow Wilson gave his 14 points. One of the points was the formation of League of Nations. Although after Woodrow Wilson, America did not itself become a part of League of Nations, and hence the League of Nations did not have the world superpower at that time, that was United States. It emerged as the global power after the World War I, but it did not behave as one, and it went back into an era of splendid isolation. But the thing is that the League of Nations came up, and it could not perform well because United States was absent from it, and it was just a toothless tiger, and a second world war was inevitable because there was no good institutions in the world. So when the second world war happened, and United States again was from the winning powers in addition to the Soviet Union, for which they indulged in a Cold War. And after the World War II ended, and before the Cold War started, a few moments that were very important in the modern history, and especially in the neoliberalism history. In those days, very important institutions came in the world, like the United Nations organization. It is the most important institution in the world till now, and other than UNO, some other institutions also came up, like the Bretton Woods system, World Bank and IMF, and also the World Trade Organization came up, and with the help of these institutions, the cooperation between the states has increased a lot. Although these institutions like the United Nations have not performed very well, like they could not make this world an ideal place to live in, but it still made the system of the world in such a way that a third world war has been prohibited, and the world didn't see a third world war, and many other wars have also been pacifically solved. Even after the Cold War started, these institutions, the liberal institutions, kept on performing well in the Western Bloc led by the United States. So these institutions didn't give up in the Cold War as well. And after the Cold War ended, the importance of these institutions have risen up even more now. The theory of liberalism gave immense importance to the individuals. Individuals were considered the primary actor in the system. The theory of neoliberalism, this says that the states are the primary actors, but still the states are not the only actors. Realism says that states are only actors, but neoliberalism, it says that states are the primary actors, but they are not the single actors. Individuals are also an important actor in the world. Also, the neoliberalism says that all actors are rational, individuals are rational, states are rational. So when they are rational, they try to get maximum benefits for themselves, even if those benefits come with the benefit for the other party. Unlike neorealism or realism that says that only the benefits of for oneself should be considered and not for the other one. Neoliberalism says that the absolute advantage is important, absolute benefits are important. Like if I am getting some benefit and the other one is getting benefit more than me, even then we should make that deal. But it is opposite to neorealism that says that the relative benefits are important. States only do agreements where they can have relatively more benefit than the opposite one. In other words, we can say that neoliberalism is not stuck in a security dilemma or a prisoner's dilemma. As already said, that the institutions make the system of the world somehow more predictable, and when the system becomes more predictable, states know of the intentions as well as actions of other states. So in this way they can predict the behavior of other states, and this can help both of the states or all of the states, for the instance, to cooperate with each other for the absolute benefits of each of the state. But the neorealism says that this doesn't work. For example, John Mearsheimer, he is a great neorealist in the contemporary era. He says that when absolute advantages are considered, for instance, if one state is having less advantage and the other state is having more advantage, this state will have a problem with that state's increasing its power, and this will result in a misbalance of power, and it would not work to make the relations between both countries peaceful. Instead, they would even go to confrontation with each other. Two very important theories in neoliberalism are complex interdependence and democratic peace theory. Now, complex interdependence is such an interdependence between states that if they do not cooperate with each other, the results can be chaotic, and that would be dangerous for all of them. If they do not cooperate with each other, hence those states cooperate with each other, and this cooperation is usually in terms of economic matters, but not limited only to economic matters. It can be in the form of common defense agreements that are related to military matters, or like the matters of soft power. For For example, the states having linkages with scientific matters, or even the soft power, that is exchange of students or culture or things like that, that are also very important to integrate the states. When there is complex interdependence, the cost of breaking that interdependence is very high. States that are in complex interdependence, they are less likely to fight with each other because they have interest in other states, so they do not resort to confrontation. Instead, they try to have absolute benefits for themselves, so they do not worry if the other state is getting more or less advantage. What matters is they think of themselves as they are having some benefit. For example, China and United States of America, they are in a network of complex interdependence because their economies are very much related to each other. So they try to overcome their differences, although they have a lot of differences, but they do not resort to confrontation to as much high level as the United States and Russia can go to, because Russia doesn't have economic interdependence with the USA. On the other hand, Russia has economic interdependence with the European Union. So although the political ideology of United States and European Union is much similar, Russia doesn't have complex interdependence with the United States, so they are considered as rival powers, whereas Russia has economic interdependence with the European Union and it has interests there, so it is less likely that they both stand against each other in military matters. But this economic interdependence does not always work. For instance, United Kingdom and Germany had very good economic relations before World War I, but still they got into a war. And also United States and China may also indulge in a war in future, although they have right now complex interdependence. The other theory is the theory of democratic peace. According to democratic peace theory, two democracies almost never fight with each other. If there are two monarchs or two military dictatorships, they can have a war, and even if there is one democracy and the other one is not a democracy, there are more chances for them to solve their disputes by war. But if there are two democracies, it is less likely that they would go to a war, because this theory is linked with the theory of Immanuel Kant, who wrote the book Perpetual Peace, and in that book he said that the Republican states, where the government is run by the will of the public, those states are more likely to be peaceful than the monarchist states, because monarchs do not value the collective will of the public, and they make the decisions based on their own interests, and that are not to be considered by the public, and the public usually is peaceful. That is the main theme of democratic peace theory, that where there are democracies, they do not resort to war, instead they resort to cooperation. Liberal hegemony has been pursued by United States under this theory. United States consider that if it spreads democracies in the whole world, all the states would resort to peace, and this will ultimately benefit United States. So this liberal hegemony of United States is also linked with the democratic peace theory in this way.